Bill O'Reilly back on the show again. The Energizer Bunny never stops. Confronting Evil, assessing the worst of the worst. It is out as we speak. It's not part of the Killing series. It's a different independent book. It's available now, and you can go to his website, BillO'Reilly.com as well. Good to see you, Bill.
You know, you almost made the cut, Carolla. I had to think long and hard about putting you on a cover with Mao and Adolf and the Ayatollah and Putin. But I figured that'd be unfair. Carolla does have some good points.
I do have some decent qualities. I recycle. I rinse my coffee mugs out before I throw them in the sink. So, Bill, how did you narrow this group down, this Rogues Gallery?
And a good question, interesting question. So I wanted to tie in people in the past, like Caligula, Genghis Khan, Henry VIII, these people, to the present. Mm-hmm. Hitler, Stalin, Mao. We got Putin and the Ayatollah. Ayatollah's dead, but there are little Ayatollahs that took up for him. They're contemporized. But all the people, 15 of them, there are 4 in the cover, 11 more in the book, they influence the way we live today in a negative way. Okay?
Right.
And that's what I wanted to do. So you had a guy like Pol Pot in Cambodia, slaughtered millions of his own people, piled the skulls up, killing fields. But he didn't have much influence outside of Cambodia.
Right.
You got Henry VIII, okay, big fat Henry. He basically started religious wars that there are still religious conflicts to this day. Ireland is the best example. Between the Anglicans and the Catholics, that was all Henry VIII. Ayatollah, the head of the snake on 9/11. This is 9/11 week. Head of the snake, okay? So that's how I chose them. And then the numbers of people, human beings that these men killed. And here's one more thing to answer your question. I couldn't find a woman to put in the book. There were no women who have ever lived that rose to this kind of evil. And we looked, we searched, and we couldn't find them.
You don't want to put Maxine Waters on there? I mean, I could give you a short list of evil women.
I'd say they were misguided more than evil. Uh-huh. Evil is when you enjoy hurting other human beings. Now, I don't know, Miss Waters, maybe she does. But the guys that I have in the book, there's no question. Putin, who's on the cover, enjoys sending rockets and drones into Ukraine to slaughter women and children. He likes it.
Right.
That's how psychologically damaged and evil he is.
Well, what lessons are there to learn and what lessons have we not learned? Because I feel like we as a society have a difficult time understanding evil and we get burned by it. And an example is 9/11. If you think to yourself, part of the reason those towers are gone is because we couldn't imagine somebody flying a plane into a tower where you would say, but the first person that hit the tower would be them. So who would do that? You know, I understand hijacking a plane and taking it to Cuba and getting paid $1 million and that kind of stuff, but just unadulterated, pure evil, we have difficulty with in this society.
No question. And the reason is because many Americans, perhaps most, turn away. They turn away, particularly in the urban neighborhoods. So it used to be that if you sold heroin, you were a pariah. Nobody wanted to associate with you. They'd call the cops on you. All right? You were the lowest form of humanity. Not anymore. Not anymore.
Right.
And in the urban centers, LA, San Francisco, New York, you know who the dealers are. They're right out there in the corner, waving you down. Hey, I got some. We just turn away. It's okay. It's not okay. It's evil. You sell drugs, you're evil. Period. because you don't know how that drug is going to affect the person who's taking it. Yeah, the person who's buying it's an idiot, all right, and responsible, but you are evil. So Americans have a tendency to turn away. And not only that, but I made headlines this morning, and I'm happy to do your program a few hours after that, by saying that if New Yorkers cast a ballot for Zohan Mamdani in November as mayor, they're committing an evil act. Now, there's a difference between committing an evil act, okay, and being evil. So I don't know Mr. Mamdani, but I do know this. He doesn't want to enforce the law, wants to take $1 billion out of the police budget, doesn't believe in incarceration, mass incarceration, but he doesn't believe in punishing criminals, okay, has called the police force in New York City racist. So what do you think is going to happen if he's mayor?
Well, people are going to get killed. People are going to get killed, right? And
right.
They don't.
So you, the Mamdani voter, are enabling that evil. People are going to die, more people than are dying now. And I backed it up on News Nation with this unbelievable stat. In 1934, Hindenburg died in Germany. He was the president. Adolf Hitler was a chancellor, second in command. They had a referendum. Should we give, the German people, Hitler dictatorial powers, do whatever he wants? 90% of the German people said yes. Blood on their hands. Every single one of them that said yes. Now, they may not be evil people themselves, but they allowed it. They allowed the Holocaust. They allowed World War II. And we Americans have to start to realize that if you vote for somebody, if you help somebody hurt another person, you're part of the evil cycle.
Well, I agree, but I would push back and say this. Almost every Democrat would say if you vote for Donald Trump, you're evil, because he's evil and he's racist and he's authoritarian and he's rounding up folks that look different than him and putting them in gulags and disappearing them. Now, the difference between what they're accusing Trump of doing and what you're talking about Mamdani is doing is you have an actual, there are going to be bodies. What they do is a hypothetical evil that never comes to fruition. Right. But they would say the same thing. Not would say, they are saying it. Plenty of Hollywood celebrities are now being vocal about if you voted for Trump, you're evil. You are part of the problem. So what would you say to almost the entire left and Democratic Party who would say the exact same thing to you if you voted for Trump?
Well, I would say produce the facts. Look, Confronting Evil is a fact-based book. No opinion. Here's what the guys did. Boom, 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 boom. With Trump, as you just pointed out, it's theoretical. Right. And it's fine. I'm not one of these people that get wildly crazy when a liberal or a progressive accuses Trump of being a fascist. I say, all right, put it on up. What did he do? Prove it. And they can't, which is why they won't come up against me in a debate. So Pritzker, for example, the governor of Illinois, 20 years, there have been mass murders going on the south side of Chicago. 20 years. 80% of the people murdered are African Americans. Give me one thing that Pritzker, the governor, has done to stop that.
Nothing.
No one can.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny.
But wait. So I'm talking to Mark Ruffalo. I'm talking to Emma Stone now.
Yes, Ruffalo.
I'm talking to.
But yes, or something
whatever
like
it is, Buffalo, Ruffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant actor, by the way.
Yes.
But total progressive loon.
Right.
I'm talking to you. This is who I'm talking to. So you have a fact. 20 years, they slaughter African Americans, gunned down in the street. The governor does nothing. He's offered a blanket of protection by President Trump to lessen the murders and the death. He rejects it. and he has nothing to put in its place. And he calls Trump a fascist. He calls Trump names, evil, whatever it may be. And Trump is offering to stop most of the murders in Chicago. Does that make any sense to anybody? Mark, Emma, hello?
Well, it's in a way, it's no different than school choice. You know, you have folks on the right pushing for school choice, and that benefits the inner city black child the most. They're also the most motivated to get their kids involved and out of failing public schools. And then the Democratic politicians fight tooth and nail against school choice, vouchers, and any alternative to the public education system, which is failing these kids, and they're suffering the most. So it's really the same question. One's in crime, one's in education. Do you care about these people? And if so, why are you fighting Trump, who wants to put boots on the ground, and or why are you marching with the teachers unions and fighting Linda McMahon or anyone else who's pushing for an alternative to your failing system?
Yeah, I mean, the difference is life and death, and maybe the wreckage of a life because you're ill-educated. So there's a level of evil.
I agree, but it's the same theme, which is you claim to care so much about these people. You do nothing for these people.
Carolla, let me give you one word. Indefensible.
Agreed.
You can't defend it. You can't. Now, you've read Dante's Divine Comedy, right? Because a literate man like you, an educated man, even you have the dopey hat, you can't fool me.
I forgot I'm wearing a Kimmel hat.
I know. Yeah, I know. I know that you're an educated man. In Dante's Divine Comedy, he has the 9 circles of hell. Mm-hmm. Okay? So the worst are in circle number 1. The evil people who are not quite at the level of Mao Zedong, they go down. And that is the truth about the world. So that there are different levels of evil. But my thesis in Confronting Evil, my book, is that we Americans who aren't evil, okay, have to start mobilizing against it.
Yes.
Or we're going to wind up, look, Putin is there to kill innocent people in Ukraine because the Russian people allow him to do it.
Yes.
I was just in China.
Can I just jump in and agree for 1 second? Sure. I say this all the time. Sure. People, whenever they go, it's not the people of Palestine, it's Hamas. I'll say it all the time. They go, it's not the people, it's the leaders. It's the leaders. It's not the people. I go, okay. The people stand by and let the leaders do what they do, and they vote them in, and they facilitate it. The United States could not be run by the Klan, not because there's no Klan, it's because we as a people wouldn't tolerate it. We wouldn't vote them in, and we wouldn't let it happen. And so I hear this excuse all the time, like the leaders are evil, but the people. You take many countries in the Middle East, the aforementioned Palestine. Yeah, the leaders are evil and the people basically agree with them. Or at least they don't disagree to the point where they can do something or will do something about it. So I agree with you. It's on them to a lesser degree than the leaders, but it's still on them. Sorry, China.
A better analogy would be Iran, the Persian people, because the Palestinian people, they are so shell-shocked. They can't organize. They're not organized. They're fearful of their lives. There's nobody to protect them. There's no structure at all. I feel very sorry for anybody living in Gaza or the West Bank.
I agree with you, but I'm saying it's origin stories. I'm not talking about the last year and a half.
But it comes from the head of the snake, Ayatollah Khomeini, on the cover of my book. Without Iran, you wouldn't have had 9/11. You wouldn't have had Gaza. Wouldn't have had any of this. Because an entire country, an educated country largely, the Persians are educated people, allowed a fanatical theocrat to take over and just say, if you're an infidel, you die. That's what Allah wants. And the Persian people go, okay.
Right.
Not okay. Not okay. They could have done something, and could to this day, even though the secret police is always in place, we understand that. But if the mass people like Gandhi went on strike, refused to do anything, government collapses, okay? So there are different situations, and I picked 15 of the worst situations for confronting evil. And in some of them, like Nazi Germany, Japan in World War II, the people are at fault who allowed what happened. The Russian people today are at fault for Putin killing innocent women and children. They're at fault.
I agree. I've always sort of, and that is the macro. On the micro, when they do that thing where it's like the 13-year-old boy was running the streets and he was firing a pistol and he was in the 7th grade and it was 2 a.m. I'm like, I get that kid is a juvenile delinquent, but I also want to know what the parents are doing.
Yeah, there you go.
Who is in charge of that kid and why are they letting him do this? You brought up something which was debating you. And I wanted to bring this up because it just popped into my head the other day, because I always hear every progressive politician talking about speaking truth to power. You know, it's all Kamala Harris talked about, Karen Bass. They're always speaking truth to power, but they would never dream of debating you or coming on my podcast or sitting down with Joe Rogan. You know, Kamala Harris wanted to speak truth to power, but wouldn't do Joe Rogan's podcast. You know, they only go to super friendly places and handle softball questions, which is the opposite of speaking truth to power. And then they complain about voices like yours or Tucker Carlson's, or the list goes on and on. They don't like that they're popular. They don't like the voice. Then they talk about truth to power and they never show up and debate. They won't even go on Bill Maher's show and have a sit down with Bill because he might ask them a couple of tricky questions. So what is the whole truth to power nonsense they're speaking of?
Well, number one, they don't have any truth. So if you have truth, you want to spread the word, right, Carolla?
Yes.
I have truth. It's wrong to consciously hurt another human being. That's my truth. That's what evil is. You know you're going to hurt somebody, and you do it anyway, not self-defense, not because you like it. 15% of the world population falls into that psychopathic profile.
15. Okay? That many.
That's a lot,
folks. Yeah,
that's a lot of people. Okay, so that's who's in prison. But in America, they're not all in prison because they won't put them in prison anymore. So that's my truth. It's a simple truth. It's a definition of evil.
So
now, if Kamala Harris had a simple truth, she would go on a Carolla show, O'Reilly show, Rogan show, because she could spread it and defend what her truth is. I can defend my truth against anyone, any human being on this earth. I can defend it. And I'd be happy to talk to any responsible person. In fact, we just put in a request for your buddy, Jimmy Kimmel, who I had a good relationship with, who now won't book anybody who isn't in sync with his political point of view. But he's coming to Brooklyn. It's right around the corner from me. I said, hey, Jim, you'll get big ratings. You put me on. He knows he will. Okay? We'll have a very lively discussion like I'm having with your buddy Carolla right now. So what's the downside? Okay? You know why they won't do it? Because they're afraid.
Well,
now maybe Kimmel will rise to the occasion. I hope he does. It'd be a great, great show.
No,
but
I mean,
most of them are terrified.
Gutfeld went on Fallon and it was a ratings bonanza a couple of weeks ago. So now there's some precedent for it. Huel. All right. Well, we all know mornings can be a little bit chaotic. You're juggling the dog, emails, keys, you skip breakfast, you grab a cup of coffee, you run out of the house. I used to do a lot of that. Then I found Huel, Black Edition. Seriously, grabbing this on the way out saves my whole morning. Fall is here, so school, work, everything's ramping up. You want a meal, not a candy bar, and not a latte. Huel, I'll spell it out for you. Huel. Well, they get it. Their Black Edition powder is a complete meal, so you feel full, focused, and ready for your day. And get this, they just dropped the Huel Daily Greens ready to drink, so it's super easy. First of its kind, it's your greens, but sparkling. Yeah, never seen that before, have you? In a can. No powders, no nonsense. Just pop the top and Bob's your uncle. There you go. Just pop it and go. Made by real dietitians. It's good stuff. Everyone here loves it, and we all use it. It's Huel, right, Dawson?
Try Huel with 15% off for new customers today by using our code ADAM15 at Huel.com/Adam15. Fuel your performance with Huel today.
Rosetta Stone, summer's here. Maybe you're doing a little bit of traveling. Just got to get on it, man, because summer's going to be gone soon. Let's take that trip. Or maybe you're just sitting around by the pool. Either way, you want to use that downtime, and you want to use it well. Actually learn something useful, like a new language. Rosetta Stone makes it easy. I mean, imagine going on vacation and actually being able to order food without pointing at the menu like a caveman. This is called progress, folks. Rosetta Stone is great. Dr. Drew, he travels. He speaks French. They went to France, him and his wife. Said his wife was struggling with the language and the accents and everything else, and he got her Rosetta Stone, and it said it was like she was a local. Yes, that good. Rosetta Stone's been the gold standard for 30 years. Millions of people, 25 languages, and their true accent tech actually helps you sound less like a tourist and more like you know what you're doing. It's all in bite-sized little lessons, fits your schedule, and you can use it on your phone or your desktop, so no excuses. It's Rosetta Stone, right, Dawson?
Don't wait. Unlock your language learning potential now. Adam Carolla Show listeners can grab a Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off. That's unlimited access to 25 language courses for life. Visit rosettastone.com/Adam to get started and claim your 50% off today. Don't miss out. Go to rosettastone.com/Adam and start learning today.
I'm with you in that, for instance, a bunch of data just came out today or the day before about failing schools and how abysmal the test scores were for math and everything else. And I kept screaming when they closed down the schools for 2 years, at least out here in California, there's going to be ramifications. You're hurting kids. You're saying you're shutting down the schools in the name of safety. Meanwhile, you're going to destroy a bunch of young people's lives. You're going to do damage to them. Or an open border where fentanyl pours across and human trafficking and cartels and so on and so forth. There is a body count at a certain point to your irresponsible behavior and governance. And is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, unintended consequences. So Tucker Carlson, my old teammate at FNC, was on a program and said that Biden is more evil than Putin. Did you hear that?
No, but Tucker's been saying a lot of wild things lately.
Well, he's got the First Amendment. He can say whatever he wants. And I'm not in the business to, scrutinize what other people say unless I feel it's hurting you, Adam Carolla, or anybody else. So anyway, I took that and I analyzed it. And you're absolutely right that Biden's failure to uphold his oath of office by telling federal authorities not to enforce immigration law, which is exactly what his administration did, led to tens of thousands of deaths, probably hundreds of thousands if you count all the drug ODs, because the drugs just pour and cross, okay? But Biden was so compromised, is so compromised, and doesn't believe in anything, that what he did was evil. There's no doubt that it was. But Putin enjoys as I said, inflicting pain. I don't see that on Biden. Biden is just a dumb man.
No, I get it.
A man. Right.
I get
it. So it's Dante. It's a different degree. Now, on the school thing, yes, California was the extreme, but California's the extreme in everything.
True.
Because the progressives have taken it over. There's no two-party system. There's no debate. It's Gavin Newsom combing his hair, going out, saying whatever he wants to say. State could burn down and be Trump's fault. Okay?
Right.
Oh, state's on fire, it's Trump's fault. All right. But Californians, all 59 million of them, if Newsom's up for re-election, they vote him in again.
Yes.
As I said, it's like Mandani. Oh, yeah, we'll take Gavin. Okay. There comes a point where the public school system, not only in California, but all across the nation, is falling apart. And the reason it is falling apart, there are two reasons. And this is evil. Because the kids have to be taught how to function in life. I'm a former high school teacher, as you know. I knew what my job was. I taught in a ghetto, Opelika, Florida. And I knew I had to save these kids or try. Anyway, they don't even try anymore. So public schools are largely, particularly in the poor neighborhoods, undisciplined. All I want to do is get these kids out. They don't care whether they can read, they can write, they can do math. Just get them out. Just promote them, and try to keep them from hurting somebody else. All right? No discipline, no structure, no standards, out. Not every school. In the wealthy areas, the schools are pretty good, but not in the poor areas. And the second are the parents, if they have parents.
Right.
Okay? So you do the criminality, you tie it into the fatherless homes. Direct correlation.
Yeah.
So if you're a father, you birth a child with a woman, which I believe is still the way they do it, Carolla, but maybe in California you change that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I got a laminate in my wallet. I got a check on it. So there's a lot of different terms for birthing people and lactating folks and things like that.
Right. So if you're a dad and you give birth with a woman to a baby and you split, what adjective would you apply to that person, Carolla?
Yeah, I think evil and part of the problem. I mean, it's sort of
all of the problem.
All of the problem. No, you're right. You're right. It's all of the problem. I was
right. If you are responsible parents, even if you're divorced, if the dad is around, and I understand. Look, marriage is difficult. People go apart. I'm not casting any aspersions on those folks. But if you ignore your children, if you don't know what they're doing day to day, if you don't check their homework and their report cards, that's evil. That's an evil act. You are abusing that child. You're not training the child. And that is the main reason that these kids can't or won't learn. Because there's no pressure on them to perform.
No, agreed.
Right? None.
So a couple of thoughts. In Florida, a couple of weeks ago, there was that driver, Indian, driving a semi-truck, does a U-turn, 3 people are dead, right? So that guy's not trying to kill anybody, and he's not necessarily evil, but he's driving a semi-truck, and he's doing an illegal U-turn, and now we have 3 people dead. So whoever let him stay in the country, whoever issued him a semi-truck driver's license and things like that, while not evil by the kind of definition that we were speaking about, still responsible for 3 people dead.
Partially.
Partially, yes, responsible for this in a sort of chain of events sort of way. And that's the sort of Joe Biden thing, which is Joe Biden doesn't know what he's doing. He's cognitively out of it, and he let the border wide open. And because of that, people died. But Putin is launching rockets into Ukraine and enjoying it. And that's sort of either way, we have a body count. One guy is cognizant and enjoys it. The other guy doesn't know what he's done.
And that has to be taken into account, which is why I don't put Biden or Pritzker or these people in the book. I give active evil, okay? Look, Mao Zedong starved his own people. I mean, it is, when you read that chapter, you go, how could any human being do this? I open Confronting Evil with the October 7th attack, where Hamas came across this little Israeli settlement and just obliterated it, killed everybody for no reason. There was no reason to do it. They enjoyed it. The Hamas thugs enjoyed it. And I did that to get everybody's attention. This is the first part of the book, the introduction to Confronting Evil. I'll put you right there because I want people to know that A, evil exists, and B, you can't turn away from it any longer because it is growing in this world. It's growing. And you can call Trump every name in a book. And again, I'm not in business to prop up Donald Trump, but he's not the problem. The MAGA people are not the problem.
No,
the problem is that people know it's wrong for drug gangs into Chicago to slaughter poor blacks, yet they won't vote the people out of office who are allowing it.
I agree. And, you know, it's funny. In the evil sort of Joe Biden argument, you know, every third speech talking about white supremacy being the biggest problem this country faces and the most dangerous people is because of this sort of semi-non-existent boogeyman of white supremacy. I'm sure someone loaded up the teleprompter and just told him to say it, but he really didn't help by constantly talking about white supremacy, evil, and ignoring all the other evil that is going on inside and outside of this country. But I don't know. Did he think that was a problem, or did someone just load up the teleprompter and tell him to read the teleprompter?
Well, my previous book was Confronting the Presidents. And in that book, I labeled Joe Biden the second worst president in our history. James Buchanan, the coward, was the first because he enabled the Civil War.
Right.
He allowed the South to arm itself, and that was the worst thing that's ever happened to this country. When Biden came into office, people who voted for Biden, if you had done due diligence, you would know that he did not believe in anything. He had no core belief system at all. And let me give you a very vivid example to back it up, because that's what I do. I back up everything I say. Joe Biden is a practicing Roman Catholic, and he wants everybody to know that. He said it thousands of times. He goes to Mass, he's this, he's that. Okay, who promoted late-term abortion? Who? Joe Biden. Not only did he accept it, he promoted it as a noble thing, that all abortion is noble, and that anybody trying to put any restriction on an 8th, 9th month abortion was evil. This is what Joe Biden put out. Now, that directly corresponds to the Roman Catholic mortal sin zone. Now, if you do an evil act, that's a mortal sin if you're Catholic. If it's not so evil, it's a venial sin.
I like the no sin zone. That's a new segment for you. The no sin zone right after the no spin zone.
So it is virtually impossible for a Roman Catholic who believes in the theology that all life is sacred, okay, to promote a procedure that ends life. Do you think Joe Biden thought about that at all? Do you think he had any blanking clue? He didn't, because he has no belief system at all. None. He's a cipher.
I completely agree. I don't think he has any belief system, and he seems, well, the clip where he's lying probably in the late 80s about his academic past, about being he has a scholarship. He's at the top of his class, or the top half of his class. It was a double major and all sorts of stuff, and it all just turned out to be a lie. That's sociopathic stuff. And people look at it as sort of, well, it's politics. No, it's sociopathic stuff to take your academic record. It's one thing to be a B- student and to convert it into a A- or B student, but to completely out of whole cloth make up titles and degrees and put yourself at the top half of the class and all that kind of stuff before there was any kind of deterioration mentally with him, just to lie, look right down the camera lens and lie that way. That means he's rudderless. He's a sociopath. He has no thoughts. Gavin Newsom is a sociopath. He has no thoughts about anything other than being elected. And it is interesting, and I wanted to get your take on this. Gavin Newsom is in the process of doing it. Mamdani is in the process of doing it. And Kamala Harris already did it, which is distance themselves from all their stances, or many of their stances from a few short years ago, because they're running for office now. So you made all these proclamations about, stopping fracking and about getting sex changes for legal prisoners and the state paying for it and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, you're running for a higher office and you have to back away from all of these previous stances you took as an adult. I find it interesting that they all realize that they have to get away from their previous platform in order to be palatable enough to get enough votes to take the presidency or to be the mayor of New York City or what have you. But it is interesting that they all have to get away from their previous platform stances. And Mamdani's doing it now, I think.
Yeah, of course, because they live in the moment. And they say, okay, who am I talking to now? So I've got to build up my progressive credentials. This is Mamdani. All right, so I'm going to tell them that I don't want anybody going to prison. I want to cut $1 billion out of the NYPD budget. I don't believe in any kind of social order at all. So if you're drug addicted, you can go sit on Adam Carolla's doorstep and shoot up heroin all day long, and his kids walking in and out of the have to see that. I'm not going to stop that. And then when he gets into a wider range where this kind of rhetoric is unacceptable, he goes, I really didn't mean it. Oh, I rethought it, that kind of thing. But here's a real vivid challenge. Mamdani, if he wins, and he very well might, could not get elected in Nassau County, where I saw you a few months ago perform, could not get elected in Suffolk County, these are on Long Island, couldn't get elected in northern New Jersey, and most upstate New York counties, and southern Connecticut. He couldn't get elected in any of those places, couldn't even get nominated, okay? But in New York City, a modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah, he can. And that tells you about how the evil is permeated into that city, and that people there, it's like Escape from New York. Remember that movie,
Sure.
Plissken?
Sure.
Okay? The people there, they don't calibrate that if I vote for this man, there are going to be more dead bodies on the street. It's, I want a free bus ride. I want lower rent. I want free food. I want. And that kind of selfishness does rise into the evil category.
It's funny. I was hearing about it, and it comes up all the time, and I never really thought about it, but free bus ride. Lots of debating about free bus ride. First off, I don't know how much a token is on a modern day bus, but I don't imagine it's that much. I mean,
$2.75.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's a barrier to entry to being gainfully employed in this country. I don't feel like that's impactful at all. You taking $2.75 from somebody who has to take a bus into the city, who works, many, let's say, maids who work in Los Angeles, they take a bus to the home. Sometimes the homeowner will pick them up at the bus stop or something like that. But the bus is for poor people, but I don't feel like it makes or breaks anything. What's much more impactful, speaking of transportation, especially in Los Angeles, $6 a gallon for gas. That's impactful to poor people because a lot of them are construction workers and gardeners, and they're driving big trucks and they have equipment. You see those gardening trucks in Los Angeles. First off, they don't live in Encino or Bel Air or Beverly Hills or Malibu. Well, nobody lives in Malibu or the Palisades anymore. They live far away from those places. They drive in from the Valley, Sun Valley, Simi Valley, places like that. And they're driving pickup trucks that are filled with equipment getting 8 miles a gallon. And that is impacting them greatly. I was in Alabama 3 days ago. I was driving around looking at gas station signs. The number started with a 2, which is insane. Our Uber driver mentioned to us that the gas at this place was $2.80 a gallon, which is much too high because by her house it's $2.45 a gallon. We had to explain it's $6 a gallon where we're from. But if you really want to help poor people, bring down the cost of fuel, which they never do.
Look, Mandami is 33 years old. All right. He isn't qualified to run a Burger King. He's not. And he could be the leader of the largest city in the country, because what he has woven is, I will give you stuff. I'll lower your rent. I'll give you free bus rides. I'll give you grocery stores where you don't have to pay much. I'll give you. And unfortunately, most Americans don't pay attention to reality. They don't know what's possible. All of that stuff's impossible. None of it's going to happen, okay? Just to pay the pensions for the MTA bus drivers and people who work on the buses, you can't give away free rides. But ultimately, what Mandami wants is to seize private property of the wealthy. That's what he wants. I don't live in New York City. I would never live there because I know what's coming. And it's coming in LA and California. They want to seize private property and give all of that money that the government seized to the people who will vote for them on the less affluent scale. That's the goal, wealth tax. The voters, they don't know. They have no idea.
Last question for you, Bill, because I know you got to hard out. I know you're doing a thing in D.C. with Chris Cuomo and Stephen A., and I was invited by Chris to come out as well, and I'm not sure if I can make it or not because of my schedule. Of course, I always love to be in the same room with you. But I was thinking about it on the ride here, and Stephen A. is a Democrat, but he's sort of turned a corner. Chris Cuomo, it was formerly Chris Cuomo, and he's now invites people like yourself and myself and other people like that on his program. What do you make of that sort of new world order, guys like that versus guys that are getting more entrenched and sort of deeper and more ensconced?
Well, they can read the ratings. So cable news is over. And it's not coming back. Network news was over about a year ago. When Trump leaves the stage, I don't know what the future of Fox News is going to be, because that's their audience. 95% of the FNC audience are MAGA people. When I was there more than 20 years, 60% conservative, 20% liberal, and 20% independent. And we did studies, to find out who was watching. Now it's 95%. Trump leaves, the MAGA people, I don't know, but it's not bullish. So I came up with this concept, the three Americans, Smith, Cuomo, and me. We shot a pilot at Westbury in Long Island. It's very good. And I think that's the media future. I think that there are enough Americans who respect opposing points of view. I do. Okay? As long as they're not evil and leading to death and destruction. Okay? If you just think Trump's no good, if you don't like the Republican Party, I don't have a problem with that, as long as it's based on a sincere belief and you're not hurting anybody. So I think that that's coming, all right? But it's still about a year to 2 years away because the Trump culture war is still raging. So we hate them on TV or we love them on TV. And that still drives. And News Nation really is trying to carve out a new profile. I hope they're successful, but in the age of the phone, people being glued on that phone every waking moment, it's very difficult to break through.
It'll be interesting to see what the future holds. Confronting Evil, name of the book. His books are all excellent, and it is out as we speak. You can get it at the website as well, BillO'Reilly.com. All right. Always good to chat with you, my friend. I hope to see you in person real soon.
Yeah, I hope you can make the D.C. event. It's going to be wild and crazy. And you tell your buddy Kimmel to book me, and he'll get the highest ratings he's had in 5 years, I guarantee it.
I'll get on the blower right after this. We'll be right back right after this. Thanks, Bill. Homes.com. Some might say Homes.com is the best home shopping site. It may be Homes.com's super comprehensive and transparent agent directory, or maybe it's that Homes.com is the only site that always directly connects you with the listing agent who knows the home the best. Perhaps it's Homes.com's, fact that they have the most in-depth neighborhood content of any home shopping site that's extensively researched to highlight the personality of each neighborhood. Homes.com goes above and beyond to bring home shoppers the in-depth info they need to find the right home right now. I love these guys. I'm always on Homes.com just looking. I like to see what's going on in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? No better site. Homes.com. That's Homes.com. We've done your homework.
It's about because I love a good bit of trivia. Like Irish people, famously friendly yet slightly sneaky. Yeah, we invented or were central to the invention of the tank, the guided missile, and the submarine. Yet the most damage we ever did in America is just sending you our priests.
David Nihill is on the Adam Carolla Show.
David, good to see you again. I had a flashback as I was in the bathroom.
Oh, boy. I don't like where this is going already.
When you were on the show last, did you talk about injuring yourself badly by jumping off a cliff into a body of water?
I did, and you might recall that there was two ladies with me, and one kind of split her private parts, and the other one burst her own lip with her cleavage. And it was kind of like the perfect trifecta of injuries on a Greek island with only a vet for medical assistance.
Now, when did you tell me that?
Maybe like 2 years back, and someone was talking about doing stupid stuff or injuries or cliff jumping, and I think I elaborated on once urinating on an electrical fence. Somehow that became getting injured on a Greek island, and then you zoomed in on the lady potentially splitting her vagina while cliff jumping. And I think we discussed that.
So one lady jumped off a Greek island cliff.
Uh-huh.
Approximately what? Tilt that mic down a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, there you go. That's always better. One jumped. How many feet approximately?
Over 100. I'd say 100 to 100 something. I have a picture of it somewhere, and every time I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I can see why I broke my leg off that one.
100. Because if people don't realize, 30 feet's 3 stories, and 3 stories is a big drop when you're standing on a bridge or something over body water. I love jumping off of shit into water. I have my whole entire life. When I was a kid, I jumped off of roofs into neighboring swimming pools, pools that weren't on the property of the roof I was on. I'd try to make it,
Written for injuries. Oh, I got to the point where I had friends who ran a bungee jumping crane when I was living in Cyprus, and we would just heighten it up to about 100 feet, and we'd pretend that the rope was tied on me. I was pretending to be one of the guys who worked there, and there's a queue of people waiting to go, and I would just jump off, and the guy who runs it would be like, oh, who forgot to tie him? I'd be like, what? Nobody tied him? No. And I knew it was happening, but the people queuing up to get tied up next didn't. Awesome. So, yeah, we drop it about 100 and something feet and just go with no rope.
Into the water?
Into the water.
So, wait, what water off a crane were you going into?
There was a crane hanging off the side of a cliff in a place called Ionapa in Cyprus.
I'm just saying there is no freedom like jumping off of something high into a body of water. I think it's good for your head. I understand you can get injured and you can get killed, but there's just something about that moment where you go.
Well, that's what happened. This girl, she reverted back to the kid in her and did a full star-shaped formation with her hands, but never closed the star-shaped formation. So the feeling you were talking about kind of took over, and it was this whee, and then pain.
Most women won't jump off of 100 feet is really high.
Yeah, they were cool. The two of them did it, no problem. But on the flip side of it, I was kite surfing with a friend of mine. When you're talking about jumping off stuff, is a great feeling. Maybe not in all circumstances, because we were kite surfing under the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and it was my friend's first ever time there. I've kite surfed there quite a few times. It's kind of dangerous. It's got giant Costco container ships, great white sharks, strong currents, crazy stuff. But I forgot that something could potentially get you from above. And of course, my friend was kite surfing, and all of a sudden, this guy appears in the water in all black. So my friend assumes, like, oh, he's in a wetsuit, he's lost all his kite surfing gear, let me try and help him. And it turns out this dude had jumped off the bridge to try and kill himself, didn't, was still alive, and was now trying to steal my friend's board as a flotation device as he changed his mind about killing himself.
It's the craziest.
That's,
I don't know.
I think 330 feet or something, I think that one.
Well, it's good enough to kill yourself. Did you? Oh, we'll look it up. What is most of the time? Yeah, what is the height of the Golden Gate Bridge? Now, I don't know if you ever saw that doc, but there's a doc about it, and they always, and a couple people survived.
But that's the thing. It just kind of depends on the angle, how lucky you are, and how you enter the water. And just, you can, what bones you break on impact, because you're breaking something. And I wish it was the only time I've been out there, but I've seen it a number of times where I've been kite surfing, and the next thing, this guy flies off the bridge.
Really?
Yeah, and of course, the current there is
Wait, hold on a second. 220 feet. Now...
Yeah, 220, that you could see how it could go over either way. I think the survival rate is pretty high, but they don't publicize anything about what happens with that bridge, so who knows?
Well, according to the doc, only a couple guys survived. But according to your testimony, you've gone kite surfing underneath the Golden Gate Bridge more than once. And more than once, somebody's jumped off the bridge while you were under it?
Yeah, I've been under there hundreds of times.
Hundreds?
Yeah, twice I've seen, well, once I saw the guy in the water but not jump. But then all of a sudden the Coast Guard will appear. Because I think they're very good at smoke marking the part of the water where the body entered, because they're assuming that they didn't make it. The current there is super strong and it moves one way or the other. So all of a sudden you'll be kite surfing. I'll be like, geez, this is great. Nice sunny day. Is that a dolphin I saw? And then the next thing, Coast Guard helicopter, smoke bomb on the water, like lifeguard boats racing towards you. So yeah, you definitely know when it's going on. But yeah, I've only seen one jumping once and then seen the after effects of one once.
Once you saw a guy go past you in the air?
Once I saw a guy go past me.
Wow. Did that guy make it?
Oh, I don't know.
Don't know.
I only know the second one because he was stealing my friend's board. So I was telling my friend, like, hey, this is a real safe place to go kite surfing. Don't worry, you'll be fine. And he's like, a nearly dead guy stole my board out there. And then, of course, he has no board. The guy actually took his board until the Coast Guard came to pick him up. So he had to drag himself without a board from the Golden Gate Bridge back to land, which is about a mile and a half, I'd say, and you look exactly like bait. And, there's a good amount of great white sharks around there. So he's skimming across the top of the water with no board, dressed all in black.
Like being dragged by the kite
being dragged by the kite, yeah. So you look like bait. You look like a seal.
Yeah, when you do a lure, they skim it across the top of the...
He was kind of like fly fishing with himself for great white sharks.
Yeah. All right, so the one girl split her labia or something.
She split the internal workings of something and had to be stitched up by a vet. And
vet, that's right. I remember that story. And then the other girl, was hit with her own cleavage?
Yeah, the other girl was a bit ahead of the curve by Irish standards at the time, because this was like late 90s, early 2000s, but yeah, she should be watching a lot of reality television, I think, got some fake cleavage.
Oh, fake cleavage.
Yeah, and they whacked her in the lips and burst her own lips. So it was, then when I finally jumped in to try and see were they okay, and then my shorts exploded on entering the water, so I'm just kind of swimming to them like balls dragging in the wind behind me, trying to rescue the scenario.
You broke your leg?
I broke my leg the next day. I actually went home, got all the guys I was living with, there was 7 of us sharing a house in Greece, and I was like, you wouldn't believe the day I had to take a cliff jump. We got to go back and do it tomorrow. Like, it's mental out there. And then, I broke my tibia and my fibia.
There's still something
about jumping off things.
Well, it's not the sensation. It's the you made yourself do it. And many fibers in your being said no. but you overrode those fibers and you did it.
Well, I'm actually that much of an idiot. And to speak to your point, is just something fundamentally enjoyable about jumping off things. I went back 4 years later, even though I broke my tibia and my fibia, and I did that exact same jump again.
Why did you landed wrong?
I don't know. I landed wrong. I did a bit of a higher one, so it was definitely higher than 100 feet. I'd say maybe like 130 or 40, the one I did.
That is...
But I hit a rock on the way back. It was kind of like it loosened it, and then I kind of stepped off one rock to another when I got out of the water, and my whole leg just crumbled, like something had already happened in the water.
They, again, 130 is exquisitely high. 50 feet is high. That's enough.
50 feet high. The bungee ones were probably the highest, where we would climb over the end of it, so it's called the Mr. Bean bungee jump. So, there's a shot of him in one of his shows where he doesn't like diving, so he's trying to dive off the dive board, but he can't. So he crawls out backwards on his hands and knees, and he hangs off it till the last possible second. There's a bungee jump, they call that the Mr. Bean bungee jump. They roll up the rope up top, so everyone on the ground can't see. They just see a guy hanging from the crane. They don't see the rope whatsoever. So they're basically gathering around to watch your impending death.
Right.
They only realize the rope's there at the last second, but that was probably one of the nerve-wracking ones. I have a good photo of me doing that stupidly somewhere along the way.
Are there other endeavors, sex without a condom, things like that, where
living on the edge,
where you roll those dice? Because I was a thrill seeker as a kid, I realize, and I don't know where that thrill-seeking gene comes in, but it's a weird thing that most people don't have, and you should probably hope, your kids don't have it. But I had it. I would force myself to do things that were dangerous and scary and weird, and I would do them alone. Like I didn't need an audience at all. I would sit. I could remember across the street from my grade school, you graduate in the 6th grade out here, was a church, and the church was sort of on a hill, and it had this thin, long kind of outdoor corridor with this stucco wall on both sides, and then cement stairs that went 8 or 10 stairs, and then into this narrow stucco corridor. And it always bothered me that I didn't have the balls to jump it on my bike. I should have been courageous enough to jump it. And it bothered me. And then I graduated the 6th grade, and I thought, well, now you're a man. You graduated the 6th grade. And while everyone else was like eating cake, I was sitting in that church. There's nobody there, just staring down this long corridor, knowing there was 10 steps. And I just did it. I didn't invite anyone to come out and cheer me on or take a picture. I didn't do anything. I just went for it. And I ate shit and hit the stucco wall when I landed and got all, kinds of road rash and stuff. But I was done. I did it.
As long as you have no broken bones, you're likely to repeat. I think that's what slows you down.
I had a loading dock, like for a semi-truck, in the back of the Gelson supermarket. It's about 3 foot tall. I wanted to ride off it on a unicycle. And it drove me nuts until I did it.
That's where the Californian is coming out more than me. I don't think we had access to too many unicycles in Ireland growing up. We were more jumping out of trees. I used to climb any tree I could find, just jump out from as high as possible.
I literally bought mine for $10 used off this kid who was having it rust out in his backyard. So I was in the same
remnant
predicament.
Of Burning Man, it sounds like.
Yeah, but it bothered me that I wouldn't go off a loading dock on a unicycle. It was all concrete, everything. And it bugged me. And then I realized, I got a thing, because my son would never think about that in 1,000 years and wouldn't do it for $1 million. And for me, I did it because I thought I was a coward and I needed to do it.
I wonder if you could make a link to that to doing stand-up comedy, because it's the same thing without a safety net. You're just standing there. You're like, well, this could go badly, but I still enjoy it.
I don't know, for you, for me, stand-up is sort of about potential. Like, you could do this, and if you don't, then you're wasting your potential. which may be connected to jumping off loading docks. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, no, I think there's a connection to the fear factor involved in it, and I'm less likely to break something, I hope, most of the time. But yeah, like you as a kid, I just look at stuff and I'm like, I'm going to do something nuts with that. Like, I'm jumping off that. I'm going out. I couldn't be trusted. My parents got me a little toy chicken on wheels when I was a kid, and if they turned their back, I found the steepest hill possible and just headed off down the road on this chicken. They're like, that guy needs to be locked in a room somewhere.
I think is as bad or as dangerous or as many trips to the emergency room or the veterinarian from your previous story as it may have caused, I think overall it's a good thing. I think not being fear-based is important.
Well, yeah, there's a whole pile of books on this, and especially in the States, around like raising kids that are not fear-based. So just let them out. What we used to do, like let some of the lunacy unfold, and sure, if they get injured, they'll figure it out. But I mean, I guess that's how we grew up. And I certainly took those lessons with me. I'll never forget, there was a girl who developed slightly earlier than the rest of them. Our main passion in life was climbing trees and jumping out. So I got pretty good at squirreling up them. And someone pulled up this girl's shirt when we were like 12 or 13. It wasn't me, but she thought it was. So rather than debate it with her, I was like, I'm just climbing the nearest tree. And I climbed up one and a branch broke. I fell out and I landed on like this huge spike of a broken branch just straight into my back and slid down it. And I still have a fairly sizable scar from me back for it. My mom was a nurse, but she was in America at the time. It was before Google, so my dad just came up with the cure for this was not going to the hospital. It was rub salt and vinegar into the wound to help fix it. And that was when my mom was like, I am never leaving the kids with that lunatic again. But yeah, I definitely have the scars of jumping off things, but I wouldn't do it any other way. I think when I was about 14, I had a Super Nintendo computer. And I got so good at playing Street Fighter. Remember that game that I could just finish the whole game without anyone else touching me. And I was like, well, I have way too much time on my hands. Like none of the characters are even able to hit me. So I just sold the Super Nintendo and bought a motocross bike without asking my parents at all, in a place where we didn't have legal space to operate a motocross bike.
Oh, I wrote down the word motorcycle on a piece of paper because I was like, for me, it translated from BMX bikes into motorcycles, and then that was a way to sort of accelerate the thrills because now you were going 30 miles an hour and there was stuff to do. And I don't know how that manifests itself for you. What'd you buy?
Same one. I bought a Suzuki TS125 to start with, and it was terrible. It was red and white, and someone hadn't got the money to afford stickers for it, so they made like a biscuit tin and painted like the number one rather optimistically on the front of it. And I just drove it around. And I remember the police pulling me over driving through in Dublin in one of the neighborhoods. They're like, where's your license and registration? I'm like, I am 14. Like, where's your tax and insurance? What they'd say in Ireland. I was like, 14. He's like, you have 1 week to produce it. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I won't be turning up in a week's time to produce that. And they're like, go on, get out of here now.
What is driver's license age in Ireland?
Yeah, do you know, I nearly forgot just as I was saying that in my mind, I was like, what age? I think for a motorbike it was 16, and I would have got it the day you could get it. I got it. I'm like, I am getting a motorbike. But I remember I was working in this equivalent of a grocery store in Ireland, had me motorbike, and I was late night and I was going out, and this guy grabbed me by the helmet and started trying to steal the bike and whatever I was carrying. And I just remember he had so much control over me. I had snot all over my face. It's freezing out. It's cold. I'm like, why am I driving a motorbike in Ireland? It's not exactly, you're dreaming of the California highways on a Ducati somewhere. And this guy was just pulling me around by the helmet, and I couldn't get rid of him because I was kind of locked into it. So I was like, this is not a scenario I want to be in again. And I think in that mind, I was like, all right, I'm taking a break from the motorbike. So it was not a crash or not the danger of it. It was just like, how's this guy dragging me around by the head? I can't get his bloody helmet off me. I'm about to get robbed solely because I cannot remove this thing off my head.
I rode a Honda 404 street bike out here for a while, and I decided one night when I was at the top of Coldwater Canyon, which is this snake of a canyon that goes all the way down into the valley and into the city, but I was going into the valley, Ventura Boulevard. I decided to challenge myself to ride the bike down the 3.5, 4 mile run, but switchbacks, single lane, like super twisty. I think I can do this without touching the handlebars.
That's a powerful bike too.
I think I can just put my hands on the tank and never touch the handlebars, and I can lean. and I can work the foot brake, and I can do this without touching the bars. And I decided that was my mission. Now,
I was not that nuts. That's Cirque du Soleil level of stuff.
I never felt out of control. I never felt in danger. I felt like I could control the speed of the bike with the foot brake, which I did, and that the bike, once it got going in a sort of gyroscopic kind of way, was pretty good. And then I realized most of the turning on the bike would just be leaning anyway. Yeah. It's not like you're turning. It's like ailerons on a plane versus the rudder. You know what I mean? Just turn and lean. And I just, with the exception of a couple tight corners that were like had a long and a switchback, it was not a problem.
Yeah, well, you were more nuts than me.
I wasn't nuts. But here's what I decided. I decided that it must be done. Even though there was nobody around. Like today, you'd have your buddies filming you, and then you'd put it up on TikTok or something like that. And I'd have another camera showing I didn't move my hands from the tank or whatever. I didn't have anybody near me.
Yeah, and you would miss it. I look at that the whole time about just doing things just sheerly for the thrill of it. I don't care if anyone's there. I don't want to document it. I just did it. I definitely miss living like that because I'm like, why am I doing this? Just for the thrill of it.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Yeah, you know the song. You know the jingle. They're in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offers friendly, helpful service and the parts and the knowledge you need for all your maintenance and all your repairs. I've always used O'Reilly. I use the ones that are closest to me. Stop by the one up on Foothill, which is in La Crescenta. Maybe La Cañada. It's right on the border. Anyway, then the one in Glendale on my way to the shop. So I needed stuff for my race car, stuff for cleanup. I had a little hydraulic oil situation over here. Cleaned it up. Got the stuff from O'Reilly. So whether you're a car aficionado or an auto novice, you're going to find the employees at O'Reilly Auto Parts are knowledgeable, helpful, and best of all, they are friendly. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today, or you can visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam.
This September, CBS hits are streaming free on Pluto TV.
I'm coming in hot.
For this month only, stream full episodes of Matlock.
I'm a lawyer, like the old TV show.
Fire Country, Elsbeth.
I do love a mystery.
NCIS Origins, Watson, and Ghosts.
What the hell?
This is the most amazing sight I've never seen.
All for free. The CBS shows you love, this month only on Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
I think it's more important for boys. I think they need a little that, you know.
Get it out of the system.
A little out of the system with a sense of not being... It's funny, I was watching that viral tape of the Karen at the ballpark at Philly going and stealing the ball from the guy. It was making the rounds everywhere. He got the ball for her son, and then she demanded it, and he took it back. It wasn't that he gave her the ball back. I was fine with that. It's that when she came up and confronted him, he took his hands and literally did a woe is me, kind of like, oh, no. And I thought, that guy didn't jump off any cliffs in Greece or ride a motorcycle without touching the bars.
It's funny, the different thoughts. I didn't see that on social media, but I think I was in the gym or something yesterday, and it was playing on the TV. And my only thought was, "Feck in America, like the whole world's going nuts. There's these wars we're trying to solve, and they're like, Bob stole my baseball."
Yeah, I know.
How's that the dominant story?
Well, it's called a first world problem, David. That's what we have here. We have first world problems.
Oh, well, I had, I suppose. Ireland, the interesting thing about growing up as Ireland is we transitioned through that. So, like, we would have been the poorest country in Europe when I was a kid, and then we got slightly wealthier. So there was no affording nothing. Like, the motorbikes, I was like, Super Nintendo, buy a bike for the equivalent of $100. I had a Honda Vision, which was like a little moped that I bought off some guy. He stole it, and he was willing to sell it for the equivalent of $20. So I was like, yeah, I'll buy that. And I just turned up home. My parents are like, where'd you get that bike? I'm like, don't worry, it was cheap. It's stolen. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I kept it in the kitchen. So my mom was obviously pretty forgiving in life. She's like, that's David stole a motorcycle. My mom's a nurse, my dad's a teacher. They're not the kind of people that should be turning an eye to that. But I think they just figured he's so nuts, just let him at it. It'll be fine. Like, I don't know if I ever got out of the system. I'm obviously still doing some questionable stuff, but...
Well, what's the most recent and the most questionable?
I started wing foiling, which I didn't think was that wildly dangerous until I met a guy 2 days ago who had part of his face taken off by the foil. So it's that elevated system that kind of bring up out of the water on a board, and you'll see them surfing doing it.
Literally saw that 2 days ago in Malibu. There's quite a few guys in Malibu doing it. I said quite a few. I mean, you'll see them if you're driving down PCH, and I just went, man, I got to do that. Like I said it out loud.
It's wildly fun, and while you're doing it, it doesn't have that much impact on the body. So a lot of older fellas who would have been windsurfing for years transition to doing it. But
so one of those things is about $10,000, right? Or how much?
it's certainly not mine.
Well, you could find one used.
Yeah, mine's all maybe like $1,200 for everything I got. Maybe
You could find one used for like $1,200.
yeah, that's the Irish stolen moped version of doing it.
And how do you get going? Do you get going on your knees or on your belly? Or
Yeah, it's kind of wild. You get going on your knees. I tried to learn down in the Dominican, and I spent a few weeks doing it. And I was 4 days ago, I was under the Golden Gate Bridge. The first time I ever, because I've kite surfed under there loads, but I'd never gone out on this wing foil system.
Now you're up about 18, 20 inches, 22 inches above the, I mean, it varies, but you're up.
Well, depending on the length of the thing, you can control that a little bit, how high up you are, because they vary the length of the mast. But yeah, you're kind of above the water, so all of a sudden, if it's a bit sharky, you're kind of seeing the sharks, or if there's stuff around you, you're going to see it. You have an elevated position.
Right. You're up on your feet.
Until you run out of wind. So you were like, what's the thing?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's until you run out of wind. I'm talking about the foil.
No, I'm talking about the foil too, and you're using like a little wing, so you kind of look like a little ant with a triangle in your hands when you're out there doing it. But I was under the Golden Gate Bridge, which was the first day I built up the guts to kind of go out by myself.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're doing the foil with the kite.
Yeah, it's basically
I thought you
it's
meant
with
the
a small
motorized.
sail.
I'm talking about the motorized foil.
That thing is, that's a good 10 grand.
That's why I said
No, I can't afford that.
$1,200.
Not for me.
Right. So they have a battery operated, there's a super long extension cord that I'm unaware of, but it's battery operated, propeller driven wing foil.
Yeah, it's called an e-foil board.
Right.
I tried learning that. It turns out I am horrendous at e-foil. And I did it. I was in Albania about a month and a half ago, and some guy was doing it on the cheap. Normally it's pretty expensive. But yeah, once Mark Zuckerberg is doing it, I don't want to be doing it. So he came out, I love wing foiling. I'm like, well, that's it. I'm not doing wing foiling or jiu-jitsu.
So you're doing the wing foil with the kite.
Yeah, I'm using solely the power of the wind to move that foil on board. But occasionally the wind kind of drops off. So like 4 days ago, I stood under the Golden Gate Bridge and the wind just disappeared, and I'm just standing there on my little board trying to balance. And the only way to get it moving is kind of violently nearly bounce it off the water, which is pretty much the best way ever to attract a shark. So you're just bouncing up and down, no wind, and you're like, oh God. I would be scared underneath that Golden Gate Bridge, man. It's a thrill. That's why I like doing it. You know, like I'm not that good at kite surfing. A lot of guys do all these fancy tricks. I just like the adventure of leaving land, going under Golden Gate Bridge, and like some whale pops up next to you, and you're like, that was just a humpback whale that's just jumping around me.
And container ships going up and down.
Yeah, I've nearly been nailed by one. The one that I nearly crashed into, ironically enough, had Wang written down the side of it. I was like, wow, I nearly got killed by a huge Wang. That is not the way to go.
There is a foil board that has like a leash and a propeller on a thing in front of it that pulls you like a sled dog.
Oh, yeah. They do that with drones as well all of a sudden. So it's like wakeboarding anywhere you want. So the drone will pull them along.
Wakeboarding with a drone?
No, wakeboarding with a drone. I'm pretty sure if you go on any of Red Bull's channels, you'll find that pretty quickly.
So you don't need wind.
You don't need wind. You do need a drone. You need money, I think, for all of these things.
You need a drone that can lift an adult male?
Yeah, well, it's the same with the e-foil stuff. I mean, that only lasts for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So you're limited battery power with the wind, as long as you get the conditions right. Obviously, a lot cheaper, not charging anything, and just it gives you the thrill. The other one doesn't give me the thrill. Like I just bought some expensive thing, and now I'm sliding around.
But they have a drone that can lift 100 pounds?
Yeah, they can drag it behind you. I guess it wouldn't be the same weight ratio if you're sliding across the top of the water once you get momentum.
Yeah, once you get going, but initially it's going to...
Initially, yeah, it's got to have some serious force. Because even when a boat pulls you up wakeboarding, like there's a moment where you and the boat are having a little fight there. When I was learning, we were having a little fight for hours as it dragged me underwater like a human submarine.
There is one that has like a leash of about 12 feet and a motorized sort of torpedo thing that pulls.
Oh, I've seen
it's
that.
like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
water skiing behind nothing.
I've started seeing that, yeah. Well, that's the funny thing with California. There's just so much money here. You guys are at the forefront of once they invent something wacky, you guys are doing within a week and a half, you know? It kind of trickles down to us in Ireland.
It's a weird look because you see a guy skating across the bay in Malibu, and he's hanging onto a rope, and the rope just goes down into the water 10 feet in front of him.
Yeah. He's got his own little submarine dragging him around.
And I always look at it and I go, oh, if I'm with someone in the car, I go, man, that guy's really trained the shit out of his dog. I mean, look at that guy.
Scuba dog.
It looks like you're walking a scuba dog. Oh, this is the drone.
Here we go, the drone. I knew it existed. I was like, did I just take too many edibles and dream up that sport? But it turns out, no.
That is crazy. So, guys, oh, God, this is why the terrorists hate us. 'Cause they're looking for clean water. We're just drone.
You're just stealing baseballs from each other and drone wakeboarding.
Oh, wow. Wow. And I wouldn't think you could do it in a tree-lined area like that. That doesn't seem like drone country to me, but here we are.
It does
Wow.
when they're good at flying them.
Wow.
Pretty epic, isn't it?
Yeah. Somewhere, some way, though, this guy's got a girlfriend who's super pissed because he one day would like come home and he doesn't have a job. And she's like, you can't get a job. And he's like, I don't know. I just don't have the energy. And he's like, I've seen your energy level. I've seen what you can do when you want to do something, when you're motivated.
Or it could just be a dude who's there like, you are not allowed to buy a boat. You can wakeboard, but you're not allowed to get a boat. So let's see what you come up with. And then, yeah, sure enough, this is it.
Oh, God.
I also, I think I spent a week of my life in California once over a wakeboarding injury as well. Add that to the list of stupid things I did.
Wakeboarding is when you're being pulled or when you're riding the wake?
Wakeboarding is what you were just watching, but with behind the boat, and usually trying to jump off the wake. But I was out in Discovery Bay, which is kind of up Livermore, Stockton part of California, inland from San Francisco. And I jumped off the back of the boat. And incidentally, it's the only place I've ever been asked, what is Ireland? Like as a question, as opposed to where is it? So I was like, all right, this place is interesting. And I jumped off the back of the boat, but I just didn't look when I went into the water, and my knee hit something underwater and just chopped the top of the knee straight off. And it's all this agricultural runoff water. So the doctor's like, oh, you're getting an infection. It's not a matter of time. And one of my legs just started growing to twice the size of the other one, and nearly lost my knee. So there's a cost to all this mad stuff sometimes.
No, look, I rode motorcycles for years in this town, recklessly on the street to work. I was the guy working construction with my tool bags, which I would fasten and then hang over my head because there's no other way to get the bags, my tool bags. And I did it for a long time. And at some point I realized, you know what? You dodged a lot of bullets.
Yeah.
And you're older now and you can afford to drive a car. And I just said, you're going to drive a car.
I think age is the primary driver of calming you down a bit. You'll still take some form of risk. I mean, every time you get in a car, arguably you're taking one of the biggest calculated risks of your life.
Well, yeah, I agree. I race cars, so people want to know what's going on with that. But I tell them you're in a cage mainly. Most of my cars have a cage, and then you have a 6-way harness, and you have a fire system, and you're wearing helmets and gloves and fire-resistant this and that with the net in the window and all that kind of stuff. And while it has some weird illusion of fear or of danger, because of the speed, really the guys on the scooter, hauling ass down Venice Boulevard at 30 miles an hour in shorts and flip-flops are probably risking they're in danger much more than I am inside of a cage, inside of a car.
True, if you have the proper safety stuff. It's funny as soon as you mentioned construction, my mind went back to when I'd worked as an apprentice electrician for a while before I decided hanging out with a bunch of dudes all day was not as appealing as going to university. But I worked on IBM when they were setting up all their facilities in Ireland, And we had no safety in Ireland, but because it was an American company, there was a guy called Herb, and all he did is just walk around. And he's like, "Hey, Paddy, get your ass down off that ladder. And I get down, take it off there. You have not got a helmet on." He was just Mr. Safety. And I don't think in my life, I'd worked at construction sites for years, I'd never seen someone who was just dedicated for safety. It was just so ironic. It was an American guy just going around shouting everything about taking unnecessary risks. But he worked. His name was Herb. I never forgot him to this day. Every time I'm on a ladder, I'm like, "Oh, Herb would kill me now."
Yeah, I didn't work any union stuff or big company stuff. It was always kind of small stuff, so they didn't have any of that safety stuff. No hard hats, no gloves, no goggles.
We had nothing. I drove a dump truck. I think they used to call me the German because I crashed into so much stuff. They're like, "He drives like Schumacher." And every morning they had a Schwartz to get drawn on me dump truck, and I just crashed it into stuff, and nobody seemed to care.
We would take the framing nailer, the pneumatic one, and you could fire it at somebody, but you'd have to take your hand and put it along the front and pull the safety back because it had a spring-loaded, you had to be pushing it down in order to fire it.
Yeah.
So you couldn't pick it up and fire it, but you had to push it against a piece of wood. Then you could fire it. That's why, by the way, when you see guys that are like roofing and they're using a pneumatic nailer, they hold the trigger down and then they slap the gun. They go pop, 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 because it's a lot faster than holding it, squeezing it, holding it, squeezing it.
Yeah.
They just pre-hold it, but it won't fire. But as soon as you depress the spring-loaded end, pop, pop, pop. But we would hold the thing back with one hand, aim it with the other hand, and just fire a 16-penny nail at somebody.
Yeah.
And now, it's not like the thing was not, oh God, I'm trying to think of the word, but the nails would come flying out sideways. And what is the word I'm thinking of for the barrel of a gun? Sorry, I'm screwing this up. Muskets don't have it, but bullets do.
Yeah, I'll leave it to 3 Americans to figure out the knowledge of guns. We're lacking on those.
This one's Dawson, you shouldn't even think this much. It's modern day guns are rifled. All right, sorry. Rifled, yeah, versus a musket. Caliber. What are you, retarded, Andrew? Look, every once in a while I have a brain fart, but my brain farts are easy. A musket is just a musket ball, and modern day guns are rifled. Yeah.
If the Americans don't know the answer to the gun question, there's no hope. You can skip it.
Yeah, I have no idea.
You never heard of rifled?
No. I may have heard the word, but no. I don't.
Oh, really?
No idea.
But I know the tool and the mechanism you're talking about. We used to use something similar, shingling houses. I had a summer job once in Nantucket, just shingling old rich people's houses. When we weren't shingling houses, which I didn't know how to do, they used to pay us to cut their grass, and they didn't have grass. They were so rich, they hadn't been there in so long that they didn't realize sand had taken over their garden, but my boss wanted to be seen to at least trying to mow the sand, so he just dropped us off. We drove around the outskirts of the sand, build them, and then headed home.
I am dumbfounded. Dawson, never heard of rifling. And Andrew, nothing with rifling, huh? So wow. Well, I kind of apologize, but now this may be worse for you guys, which is rifling is the modern day gun rifle. It's the reason we went from muskets, which was just a ball sort of sailing through the air, to Mark Wahlberg 2 miles away with pinpoint accuracy is... Yeah, it's like saying, what would professional football be without a spiral? What if you just threw the ball sideways? You go, well, Joe Montana couldn't get the ball more than 15 yards down the field but rifling is what ushered in the modern rifle, and thus bullets instead of muskets and stuff like that. Probably 18, early 18. I mean, there's always a prototype, an invention or something, but by the time you get to the Civil War, which is, I don't know, 1860, 50 something, 60 something. The guys in the field, they got muskets, but if you notice the generals and the lieutenants and stuff, they have pistols, and those are rifled.
Was it Smith & Wesson that was responsible for that rifling, and then that family?
I don't know if they did the first revolver, or they did rifling, but the rifling, it's grooves, it spins it. It's basically, again, if you took an NFL quarterback and you gave him a football and you told me how to throw it sideways at somebody, how accurate and how far could he get versus a bomb?
If you gave him a
with
football,
the spiral.
If you gave him a football and a rifle, that would be even more representative.
I
of the
would
sport.
watch somebody do it like
way
an
more
NFL
American.
skeet shooting thing where he threw it. You'd have your own, like you'd have to hire Patrick Mahomes or somebody to throw it, and then you had a
skeet shooting.
Maybe you should get a
Clay
musket
pigeon.
with no
Clay
rifling.
Pigeon?
Yeah,
You call it clay pigeon?
yeah. So you've been everywhere.
I know bugger all about guns, but I have been everywhere around the world. Yeah.
And done every job.
I've been fired from a lot of jobs. I wouldn't say I've done them.
Right. But but see, we're getting what I always say don't do, but we got it anyway. 1498 in Germany. Of course, it's always Germany. Right. But nobody owned a gun in 1498 that was rifled. Somebody thought of it or did a prototype, but we fought 250 years later, and the guys had muskets that weren't rifled. That's what I'm saying. But then you'd see a couple of guys with Winchesters, and that was rifled. You know,
Yeah, it changes everything.
all right. So stand-up's like a nothing compared to real jobs, right? For you that you've had in the past.
Oh, no, that scared me way more than everything
Oh,
else.
it did?
Yeah, I think that's why I probably keep doing it, other than like I have things I like to get out into the world that are in my head sometimes. But yeah, I think the whole country of Ireland hates public speaking. You Americans are wonderful for just volunteering. You know, you'd be in a meeting or something and they're like, I'll kick us off. And we're like, I'm not kicking this off. Don't leave me alone. And but we don't get trained for it. Not really encouraged to do it. Even though we have that kind of fantastic literary, like a lot of people just known for strong, impactful words, but public speaking is a whole different realm, and we just don't like doing it. We don't do it in school. We hide from it. So yeah, it scared the life out of me. I didn't like the sound of any of that. But once you do it, you're like, oh, this is fun. There is a thrill to it.
Well, also, most comedians don't do the kind of stuff you do or did or stuff that I did or do because they speak, but they're not really, they don't do stuff. It's all the guys that work construction, like a lot of fighters are quiet. You know, there's a lot of guys I knew who are blue collar guys, but they're quiet guys. Like they're not talkers. And then there's the talkers, but they don't do anything.
Yeah.
Or like our politicians, you know.
And then you have Ireland where we talk and we do. I think that's the whole country. They all have plenty to say. And
but you said they don't like talking publicly.
Love talking, just don't like doing it publicly. Like the forum of stand up and be like, hey, look at me. That's a rarity. Like I think yeah, and I think we didn't have that until Conor McGregor started doing it, and we're like, oh, I wish he'd shut up now.
Is he going to be president?
No, he's not. He cannot even legally be president. That is a news story solely for Americans for clickbait.
Good. Well, that's why we brought you in.
Dude, we had a turkey run for president for fun, and I think even the turkey'd probably do better, called Dustin the Turkey, and it spoiled loads of the balance, but Dustin the Turkey, I think, came fourth in our presidential elections back in the day. Not as an official candidate, completely, he was a turkey. Also represented us in the Eurovision Song Contest. So we've kind of put a turkey forward before.
All right, we got some news to do. See if the average soldier in the Civil War had a rifled gun. I'm going to say no. But then, right after that, they came up with the Winchester, and that changed the whole thing.
It seems like it went into heavy production around 1891, so that's after the Civil War.
The Winchester.
Right in there, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then Chuck Connors got hold of it, and Rifleman. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll bring in Mayhem. David's going to hang out. We'll do the news. Yeah, right after this. Homes.com. Some might say Homes.com is the best home shopping site. It may be Homes.com's super comprehensive and transparent agent directory, or maybe it's that Homes.com is the only site that always directly connects you with the listing agent who knows the home the best. Perhaps it's Homes.com's, fact that they have the most in-depth neighborhood content of any home shopping site that's extensively researched to highlight the personality of each neighborhood. Homes.com goes above and beyond to bring home shoppers the in-depth info they need to find the right home right now. I love these guys. I'm always on Homes.com just looking. I like to see what's going on in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? No better site. Homes.com. That's Homes.com. We've done your homework.
This September, CBS hits are streaming free on Pluto TV.
I'm coming in hot.
For this month only, stream full episodes of Matlock,
I'm a lawyer, like the old TV show.
Fire Country, Elsbeth,
I do love a mystery.
NCIS Origins, Watson, and Ghosts.
What the hell?
This is the most amazing sight I've never seen.
All for free. The CBS shows you love, this month only on Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Hey, Ace Man, it's Cam from Boston. Just wanted to report that both my mom and dad made me a variety of sandwiches: corned beef, roast beef, Italian style, PB&Js, PB and fluffs, all different kinds of lunch meats, you name it. I love the shit out of them, but I also didn't permanently move out of their 1,000-square-foot house till I was about 29 years old. So there's a give and take there, but take it easy.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
So a little twist with rifling. I was connecting rifling with bullets, but they rifled their muskets in the Civil War, which gave their musket balls more accuracy.
Yeah.
But still not as accurate as a bullet would be, which came a few years
You make
later.
about 300 yards if it's rifled.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, your dad knows.
I think so, yeah.
David, did your mom, I know your mom was a nurse and a sweet lady and looked the other way and kept stolen mopeds in the kitchen, but
Yeah.
did she make you sandwiches? And in Ireland, do they eat sandwiches?
Well, yeah, you'd be shocked. We will eat any food. If you're from a country that had starvation, you're going to eat anything except potentially peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, who a very small population or number of the population stole from America. But for the most part, I think we do not believe peanut butter to be a protein whatsoever.
What is a good Irish sandwich?
Ham and cheese, or cheese and ham, or you can have ham and cheese. And the only decision is it on white bread or brown bread.
And did your mom make you sandwiches?
Yeah, she would have. I still remember turning up in I think I was one of Ireland's first exchange students ever to this university in Montreal, and also the last. But I'll never forget walking into Subway and the guy just offered me all these different bread types. And I was like, what the hell are all these questions? Like raw bread, dry bread, double rich crunch. And I'm like, dude, you just decide. And he's like, it is not my job, sir, to pick the cheese or the bread. And I was like, I've never had all these options before. I literally just got a bread roll. At one stage when I was working in a factory somewhere when I was in college, I just buy a bread roll. Nothing on it at all. Just a bread roll and a thing of milk. So yeah, your sandwiches are slightly fancier. I've never seen a country put so many unnecessary objects in a sandwich.
Well, you know what I realize? We are a country that likes telling people on the other side of the counter what to do.
Yeah.
And I now had this thought. Starbucks is for ladies, because every lady I've ever done, my Starbucks orders, give me a large coffee. And then they go, what kind of, just medium or whatever you got, whatever's new, put it, then I'll just put a little cream in it, right? Every woman I've ever known they want the caramel macchiato, light foam, but not too hot, and lots of questions. Do you have almond milk? Do you have almond? No. How about coconut? Do you do a soy milk? Do you do an almond soy coconut? And what they're doing is they're having it's basically the train to the dress. Like, I'm getting married. I need some squires to carry this thing behind me. Do my bidding, and the person behind the counter is having to take this super complicated order. Every woman has that. Every guy pretty much just wants a cup of coffee. Now, but the sandwich place, that's where the guy kicks in. Where he's like light mayo, extra mustard, a double up on the tomato, no onion. Use a sweet relish, or is it right now? We're at Starbucks.
You want pepperoncinis or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A
Now-
whole bunch of things I've never heard of in my whole life were the options that presented itself to me. Especially when you come from a country that's known to be a dairy-loving country, but you only have one option, like milk or no milk. There's no skim milk, semi-skilled, half-skilled. I was like, how is your whole country lactose intolerant?
Wait, you're telling me cuisine has not returned to Ireland since the Great Potato Famine?
Easy now. It certainly has. We've imported a lot of the foods from around the world. We're getting fancy these days, but growing up, yeah.
Well, you know what? What
cheese.
Ace was really getting at was, did your mom put love in these
Did she
sandwiches?
care?
She put love in the sandwich.
She cared.
She
She
put
loved
love in
you.
the microwave chips. Yeah, I can't speak badly about her because she passed away recently. And then her last wish. This is what I've been doing for the last few weeks because I was in Brazil and she wanted to be cremated, but she wanted the ashes spread in America. And I'm like, weren't you a legal immigrant in America? That'd be pretty ironic if we just legally spread your ashes over there. But I've had to carry them with me, so I've been traveling around with these fucking ashes for the last few weeks, and it was getting pretty morbid. Like,
Bro, let's go to Forest Lawn and just do this right now.
That's what I was
Wait,
thinking.
it's in the trunk of your car?
I put them in the post to my uncle, and then USPS lost them in the post.
Oh, no.
Your mom took a trip.
Yeah, she went on a 5-day trip, and then they finally found them. So anyway, you're bringing back all the love and memories. Did she make sandwiches with love? She definitely did. Did I deserve to put her in USPS and lose her remains around the States? No.
She
Nice
wants to be
sandwiches, though.
scattered. Look, first off, this is interesting, this concept of the multi-scatter zone, because I met a woman last weekend, and I was at a car thing in Talladega, at the racetrack at Talladega in Alabama. And she called me over and she said, Adam, let me show you my car. It's a slant nose Porsche. I mean, it doesn't have the lights up front, so slant nose. And it's a turbo and blah, blah, blah. And it had a roll cage in it and a harness and stuff. And she said, my husband, God bless him, he just departed, but he would race this car and he'd take me and it was all, we'd go to that. And then I said, oh, well, that's so nice. You have his car and you have his memory and you take the kids and you bring it. And she said, and we did his ashes. We did it at the Corkscrew at Laguna Seca. Then we went to Road America and we scattered a few. And they're scattering his ashes on
everywhere.
all his favorite tracks.
He's going to show up in so many murder investigations.
Hooters. They're
Right.
like, we just found this guy's remains in
this
Hooters.
guy is
All his favorite
he's got
places.
his marks all over it.
So I would respectfully say you got to commit to a track that you want your ash. Like,
One
look,
place.
I've raced at a lot of different places. I'll take Laguna Seca, fine. But I don't need to be spread to Road
Time
Atlanta.
out.
It's a lot of trouble for the person.
When you die, you want us to burn you up and then put you in the tires and burn you out around the track? That's what you're saying?
Hey, she evidently was like sprinkling it out the window. She was going around the track, I assume. But
I did
how many places does your mom want to go?
Well, that's the question. I did, or involuntarily go, as the case. There was a guy that opened for me in a comedy club recently in Minnesota. And he's like, I'm Irish myself. It didn't sound it, but he was nice. And then he started talking about shooting his granddad's remains. They made bullets out of its granddad, and then we're shooting him out of a musket somewhere. And I'm like, that is some second generation Irish stuff.
Was it
The
rifle? Was it a musket rifle? Did his grandfather find the mark?
Some old school good. They were just shooting him out of this thing, loading him up and shooting him out. I
They
don't know.
put his ashes.
I've never heard that before. Made
I've
bullets
never-
out of it.
I've never heard that.
I'm going to do Mike Miller with the 21-gun salute.
Yeah, I thought it was very American. I'm like, that's way more American than Irish. Don't be blaming that on your Irish heritage. We are not shooting our dead people out of
So
guns.
how many places does your mom want to be scattered?
Only one, but I think hopefully none of our spilled out going around the USPS depots.
Okay, so
yeah, only one.
Only one.
No, she'd been a nurse for a long time in a place outside New York City, so that was the.
That's
that
where
was
she
the
wants to
request.
go.
Only one. No racetracks, but I mean, I could do a detour.
God bless her.
That's what I was thinking. She made good sandwiches.
Is it a burden on the living to pick a place that's far away and then task the living with
hell
spreading the ashes around?
You know what my dad wants? He wants me to take him to Nepal and give him a sky burial. You know what that is?
No.
Oh, my God. They hack you up and then feed you to the vultures. You get picked off the top of a mountain.
Yeah, see, that's imposing.
Pretty
Hunter
badass.
S. Thompson. Hunter S. Thompson's remains were shot out of a cannon.
Yeah, hell yeah.
See?
I knew I heard that
05.
somewhere.
You guys are shooting the living and the dead out
I'm
of
saying
things.
probably a 50 cal, you know. Blah, 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 blah,
You know,
blah.
I put on mine under the Golden Gate Bridge to be scarred. I did.
You want to
yeah.
be, that's on your will.
I have it on me will.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah, but now that you said it, I'm like, yeah, that's a bit imposing. Somebody has to risk their limbs.
No,
to get
no,
out
I
there.
listen, I'll handle you.
Thank you.
I'll just dump it off the edge. I'm
You'll
not
be on
going
one of
into
those-
the water.
I'm thinking just feed my corpse to the great whites so they get a taste for human flesh.
Jeez, you've thought about this. You look way too happy when you said that.
Yeah. All right. So we do. Yeah, we like even gender reveals turns into a shot for us. You know, we like to fire stuff. That's
like
what
bombs.
We do.
Yeah,
We like bombs, explosions.
Oh, you do.
I got to say, when I was in Alabama, I passed a few fireworks stands, and I was like, I want to go in.
Oh,
bad.
nothing? You didn't even... I would have stopped by for a M&A.
Any building that has no windows, I'm in. That strip club, fireworks, or good bar.
You're
Escape
a builder.
room, sadly, is
You know
added
how
to that
good
list.
those 2x4s are put together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That thing wouldn't explode into a bit of shrapnel.
You
All
guys
right,
just
what do you
love
got in
blowing
the
up stuff.
news department?
Well, in the
sir?
news, first up, man, Bruce Willis' wife, Emma, is defending her actions because she's taking Bruce home. And he'll, live out his days with dementia
taking him
at the
home
house.
from the home.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, why
She's
is she
not putting
getting
him away. She's just out there, defending her action. People are saying, oh, he needs 24-hour care somewhere else. But she's taking, I know. I'm with you.
We have a weird relationship with death, speaking of what we're just speaking of. But I just mean, at a certain point, you've lost all quality of life. You don't know where you are. You take 5 people full-time to take care of you. That's not, you're supposed to die at a certain point. We're able to stave that off with modern technology. But if you really talk about it, they go, well, we don't want these doctors playing God. Well, isn't that playing God? Like keeping someone alive for years after they should be dead?
But the thing is, it's like what? Let him starve himself out? Like what? Set him out into the woods? It's a very difficult decision to make.
I wouldn't trust my loved ones with you. You'd be dragging them up a mountain in Nepal trying to feed them to vultures.
I would put them in like a hamster ball situation where they just have to turn this wheel to create electricity for all time.
I came up with this horrible joke once, but it was in one of my books, which is they're talking about, who's going to pay to keep these people on life support for all this time, like Terry Schiavo and stuff like that. I said, all that stuff should be coin operated. And we'll see how many family members love you enough to feed quarters into that thing for the rest of the day. And it's
That's
a problem.
Great joke. What?
It solves itself because you wouldn't want to return to a world where
brutal.
nobody loved you enough to get a roll of quarters and put it in that machine.
The only way I'm doing it is if the horsey goes like this, back and forth, back and forth.
Hey, I think my mom, my dad recently died. They just stop eating at a certain point.
They have the choice to keep feeding them. And I think that was a call I got where I was like, are you guys okay? We would stop feeding her at this point. And we're like, no, she doesn't want to be around anymore. Like once you can't do stuff, you want to be out there. Now maybe you get desperate last minute and you change your mind. You're like, actually, I haven't made my peace with a few things. I want to keep going. But it was a weird one. She was lucky and unlucky because they gave her a cancer diagnosis. She was gone within 2 weeks.
2 weeks
on the full diagnosis of it. Yeah, but she would have, if I had asked her in advance, like, how do you want this to play out? That's how she would have wanted to play out.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have wanted to be in a home with someone looking after her all day. I'll tell you that.
A lot of, I remember finding my grandmother. My grandmother had pills hidden in an armoire that had like a crown molding at the top, and it was about a foot from the ceiling. It was like a dresser, and I was, as a carpenter, I was putting crown molding up in her bedroom. And I got up on a ladder and I looked down into this piece of furniture and there was pills and a couple of things of pills. And I said to her, she was younger-ish at the time. I don't know, she's 69, 70 or something. I said, what's these pills hidden up in these things? And she said, oh, those are my suicide pills. Wow. And I said, what's the plan with that? She said, well, when I get older, I don't want to hang out and be a burden, and I don't want to live this life where I'm married to a wheelchair and in bed and someone's wiping my ass. I'm taking those pills. I'm getting out with dignity. And I remember at the time, I was like 20, 21. I was like, all right, well, good for you then. Good. That bitch made it like 94, had full-time help, went through all her fucking savings, had to get a second mortgage on the house. She hung on to every last second of her life being picked up and set on the toilet, the whole all that stuff with all this suicide pill stuff. She did not reach for those pills.
Meanwhile, I'm hanging out with one inside a capsule in my tooth.
That's right, like a German officer at Nuremberg. All right, what else we got?
All right, next we got, a little viral moment. Billionaire Mark Cuban got faced with some tough questions from former Fox News host Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, I saw this.
This is a pretty funny clip.
I like Mark Cuban, but Mark has a little pie-in-the-sky version of life. But all right, here it is. Sorry.
Mark, let me ask you a question. What's your take on whether we should be sending money to Ukraine or not? Were you in favor of that?
Man, they need it.
I mean, honestly, I don't have a good answer. I can make an argument both ways, and half my family is Ukrainian from my grandparents. And so, personally, I think we should help, but I don't have a studied answer for you.
How much money have you sent to Ukraine?
None.
Oh, so what do you mean by we? You're the one whose family's from Ukraine. Like, why don't you send them $1 billion?
Because I'm trying to fix healthcare.
Why don't you fix their healthcare if you're like so deep? If you think we need to help, why don't you start? How about you first? Yeah. I notice that's never like even an option for anybody. It's like, we need to help. That's not what charity is. Forcing other people to help is not charity.
Here's the
it's
good
vanity.
News. The good news is all the weapons were on loan lease. We're getting it back. And our dear President Trump has negotiated that we own half the minerals. So he turned this horrible tragedy of a war into a profit center, which is one of his unique gifts. I think we can all agree.
Right. Can I just...
Yeah, I like Tucker. I like both those guys. And Mark's a weird guy because he makes very strong takes strong positions, makes strong accusations and stuff, but he doesn't really defend them with a lot of fire. He just kind of goes, well, all right, yeah, you're right. They're both nice guys at their core who say a lot of sort of outrageous things, right and left, and Tucker sort of everywhere in between. At his core, he's like a super gregarious guy, likes humor, likes to laugh, sort of is a writer more than he is a speaker, does tons of writing. Has an interesting life of lives in the guest house with his wife and their dogs, gets up in the morning and dunks himself in the cold swimming pool and then writes, and it's this eclectic kind of rides his bike around the island in Florida he lives on and stuff. He's a hard guy to categorize. He says a lot of nutty things. I would imagine that him and Cuban are probably a lot alike, even though they don't seem a lot alike. There's a lot of guys that are a lot alike that seem diametrically opposed. There's a lot of guys I was just talking to Bill O'Reilly, and he's always busting Kimmel's balls, and I'm sure Jimmy Kimmel hates Bill O'Reilly. They're a lot alike. They're just different in terms of their subject, but as humans, there's a lot of similarities.
The hardware is similar, but the software is different.
They're both funny. O'Reilly doesn't get credit for it, but he likes comedy and he's funny. They're both big, sort of bigger than life. They're both super opinionated and feel strongly about their own opinion. They both have a lot of they're headstrong. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what's right. Here's what I'm going to say. There's a lot of crossover with them. I think, I'm not making this up. It exists in many facets of life, but I don't think Mark Cuban and also I think Mark Cuban and Tucker could definitely have a beer and a laugh together.
The shadow realm thems back and forth. Yeah.
Well, it was a good question. He certainly, the writer in him came out for that moment because that's a show-stopping question.
Oh, he's zinged him with the nerdy question. I know.
Yeah, I agree with him to some degree. But if you are a billionaire and there's something you feel passionate about, then you should. I think most rich people know that at the end of the day, their money is getting squandered wherever they give it, no matter what. Whenever you do this, Mandami is now going, if we just get an extra 1% from the 1%, then we'd have $10 billion extra. It's you're not going to fix it. You never fix anything. Nothing ever comes out the other end. So Mark Cuban could liquefy all his wealth right now, get it down to $2.7 billion, put it all in an attaché case and take it to Ukraine and hand it to Mandami, or hand it to Zelensky, and then there'd be zero, nothing would ever come out
The other end.
The other end. You could take, or he could take it all and give it to the LA Unified School Board, and 10 years from now, test scores would be exactly the same, and nothing would ever. And I think those guys all kind of know that. So,
yeah, it's a drop in the ocean sometimes.
Well, I'm saying if I'd like set up with Lockheed Martin, right, and I just go, hey, pump these out right here. You know, you have like a strange new world of billionaires funding wars or something, or funding aid, or I don't know what that really brings up if you're going to give money directly.
It's a gotcha. To be fair to Cuban, I don't like when people do and they go, when the politician goes, we got to bring these grocery prices down, and they go, how much does a quart of milk cost? And they go, I don't. Oh, you don't even know how much a quart of milk costs? And it's I know he doesn't. It still means we got to bring these costs down.
It's a loaded question. But it's funny, as you were talking, I was just thinking that it's funny when someone you know is financially well off hits you up to give to a cause, and they're like, hey, we're doing this half marathon. We're only $400 away from our target. And you're like, dude, you're worth like $6 million. Just pay the $400. What do you email it all your friends for? Just make it happen. But I often think that if you're sitting on that many resources, well, go change something.
I believe that they know better than anybody that you could give Ukraine $10 billion and nothing would change. Well, that's the problem.
It depends where you're sitting, because the Ukrainians that are calling Ireland home these days would bite your hand off to get that input to do something with it. So there's no bad that's going to come out of that.
No bad, but I think if you said to a lot of rich people, look, whether it's Ukraine or the homeless situation, you go, look, I have something that if we can raise, $20 billion, we can end homelessness tomorrow. They do it. But they don't think it. I mean, we just spent $24 billion and we don't have anything. We just have more homeless. So I think they don't think it's going to fix anything.
It's such a wild number here, the homeless thing. In Dublin, like when I was from in Ireland, you wouldn't see it growing up, but now you do. And it was a quantifiable number. So you're like, all right, we're all one person removed from these dudes. Surely we can fix this. And then it starts creeping up, and you're getting to the stage like, oh, crap, how do we actually do something about this? But in Ireland, I'd say it was very quantifiable and very solvable, and still is. That's why you have such a frustration. But in America, when I go around, it's on such a scale that you're like, Jesus, how do we stop that? Like you go to San Francisco or Seattle or Portland, you're just like, whoa, that is nuts. L.A.,
Yeah. Yes.
I think they just lose hope. They're like, I can't do it. And you're like, you probably can. If you get your finger out, you can probably do something. I don't know. Maybe that's the optimist in me going, like, you can definitely do something. But did he sting him with a pretty good question? That's a good show-stopping question.
Yeah.
Especially if he's Ukrainian. It's kind of like a DJ Khaled posting the holiday photos these days. And you're like, what are you saying about your country? Like, when it's that close to home. You got to do something.
Where's DJ Khaled supposed to be from?
Palestine.
Oh, he's Palestinian.
I don't know. I assumed I know nothing about anything celebrity orientated.
Little factoid: his first name was DJ Arab Attack.
Was it?
But he changed it after 9/11.
All right.
Wise move.
Next in the news: drone strike. Greta Thunberg led Gaza flotilla in Tunisian port.
You gotta find Larry King interviewing DJ Khaled, because it's the greatest clip ever, because Larry King, it's weird. You go, well, he was a great interviewer. Was he a great interviewer? He was a great interviewer. So like every 9-year-old's a great interviewer, because every 9-year-old would just go, why are you so fat? And why are you bald? And what happened?
Exactly.
I loved him because I got to meet him, and I was like, talking to this guy was just like talking to. It was just wild. He was amazing. He got me thinking about things I never thought.
Oh, animatronic robot.
We talking about Larry?
Yeah, he was full of life.
I loved Larry.
Yeah,
he's been on this show a few times.
I was asking him. It was just me and 4 or 5 Jewish guys out to breakfast, and we were batting around like all the things of Irish and Jewish. And I was like, well, they're not naming dogs after you people, but they're doing with Irish people in America. Like, you wouldn't send that, would you? Like, and I was like, Molly, Murphy, and Riley treated top 10 dog names in America. But
I also have Irish setters.
Yeah, you have Irish. Well, at least we have some responsibility in those. You didn't just take the name and genericize
Molly's
it.
my Irish setter.
Dude, Larry was a character.
This is him telling Larry that he keeps clean. All right, that's awesome. Let's just watch.
I want the house on the water. I want the nice car. I want the nice watch. I want to stay fresh. I want to stay clean. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. You should strive for greatness.
How did you gain all the weight?
That's great.
That's a showstopper question.
That's great. And he's also like he's like a detective, looking for traces of blood types, and it's how'd you gain all the weight?
I loved him. He sat, I went for breakfast. They used to do this breakfast meetup that I was lucky to be part of twice. Somebody got invited, and it'd be Larry and a couple of his friends every morning.
In Beverly Hills?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very unusual. I was like, what am I doing at this thing? But
what are you doing at that thing?
I've no idea. And there was a beautiful girl from Argentina there, and she was like some news TV presenter. I'm like, she's definitely here as part of this thing as well. I didn't say hello because I'm like, whatever. But Larry he was pretending he couldn't hear her. So like I was sitting between them. So he's like, oh, a bit hard of hearing. Hey, can you just move Irish fella out of the way to get her over? And when he'd go into this restaurant, they'd take his jacket like religiously and go guard it somewhere as like this black leather jacket. And he got up. I think he used to leave whenever his blueberries ran out. He'd bring his own blueberries or something with him to breakfast. It was something kind of quirky that I thought was pretty unusual. He's like, 11 blueberries. That's it. I'm out of here, off to work. And he gets up when the blueberries ran out, and he kind of puts out his arms as if he's expecting the jacket to come, but he was so busy talking to this Argentinian girl that I had taken the jacket and I was waiting to give it to him, but he didn't notice. And he was, what's the famous adage by Yogi Berra that the difference between men and women is like if a man's in a forest or something, he'd be like, we're not lost, we're making good time. Mm-hmm. Something like that. But Larry had been telling that story and I'd been listening. But anyway, he's like, where's my jacket? And I was like, well, you were lost in Argentina, but you were making good time. Here you go. And it's just the biggest smile ever. I was like, you old stallion, on the jacket and out the door.
He's going to be missed. All right,
brilliant
sorry.
Character.
Greta.
Well, I just wanted you to know that Greta Thunberg got drone striked. Yeah. We've got some video.
Yeah, she was on a boat heading to Palestine.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Well, the thing the rest of the world is fixated on a problem and solve it. You'll find the Irish on that boat and a few Brazilians and a lot of our actors and stuff. Yeah,
really?
They drone struck it last night. The drone struck the last flotilla as well.
But didn't sink the boat, did it?
No. It just caught fire to the front deck, and then they put it out.
And Israel did this? I guess. I don't know.
100% Israel did that.
I saw another video that said they just dropped a flare. They misfired a flare on their
this
own
whole
boat.
thing is unclear.
Yeah, that's the American news version.
Yeah, there's like 6 versions of the story right now.
All right, but
they dropped a bouquet of flowers to say thank you.
Let's do this math. If Israel wanted to sink the boat, they could sink the boat.
I think they did destroy their last boat. It's a whole
easily.
flotilla.
Are you kidding me? Like, they have the best technology.
So they don't want to sink the boat.
No.
What are they trying to do?
They're trolling them, I think.
They're
Somebody is. I don't know. It's unclear at this time what's going on.
But also, do we believe anything Greta Thunberg says?
Well, I do, because there's a bunch of Irish people on those boats, and they are live putting out very reliable sources.
Just putting cigarettes out on oil rags, like they're just dancing on the...
Why are there a bunch of Irish people on it?
Well, we're very sensitive to any global issue where we think a large-scale minority group is being completely screwed over. So wherever we view somebody as being hard done by in the world, we kind of... I don't know, we nearly self-appointed ourselves to talk about it because we're like, hey, we got majorly screwed over. These guys are being majorly screwed over. We need to be speaking up for this.
Are there actors and other local people?
Activists. But the scale of this one, I think, was pretty huge. But it's wild because it's not on mainstream media over here ever. But in Ireland, it dominates our media.
We do a lot of, everyone knows Greta Thunberg is heading on the flotilla, but
this
we got
works.
that.
So they're trying to draw attention to this cause, and they have.
Yeah, but you don't want to kill anyone, obviously, because you're killing all the world's activists and you're bringing negative news story about yourself. But they do want to stop it happening. They don't want anybody to be able to enter those waters and bring aid to anyone. I imagine. I don't know. I'm not the most well-versed news story person.
Right. So Israel doesn't want to sink the boat.
They want to stop them bringing aid to a bunch of people who need aid.
Right,
it's a sign that you can't get through.
Isn't it bad PR for them to drop a flare on the boat?
Are you kidding? They have bigger problems. They're blowing up buildings and blowing up people. PR is not there.
You're thinking content farm, huh?
Yeah.
You're thinking inside job. I think it's very possible.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with the times we're living in. Some of the stuff is like the Nord Stream pipeline. It blew up.
Yeah.
and then we don't know if the Russians blew it up or we blew it up or somebody else blew it up. And then someone goes, why would the Russians blow it up? It's their pipeline. And then someone else would go, they blew it up because it's their pipeline, and no one would think it was them blowing it up to get attention or whatever. So now your head's kind of swimming a little bit because you're like,
your news is alternate. But this one is more like you find a guy called Brian who set fire to your car, and he's still sitting next to your car when it's on fire, and you're like, here, Brian, did you do that? And he's like, wasn't me.
So Israel, you know,
it worked for Shaggy.
Ben Shapiro's going to be in here in a couple days. I'm going to ask him. Ben Shapiro. So Israel took a drone and fired something at it? Or
If that was the case, that'd be nonstop, wall-to-wall news.
Yeah, maybe
I've not
it was
heard
Hamas.
one
Maybe it
thing
was
about
Hamas with a radio-controlled helicopter.
Well, you'll find it on the Irish State News if you go on there. That will be a big major story. But here it isn't. That's why when I was sitting and watching the TV and it's like the kid having the baseball stolen off him, I'm like, we're covering first.
But what I'm saying is the media hates Israel. This would be fodder for them. This would be manna from heaven. They would be all over the place with this.
I don't know if it hates anyone or likes anything, but if you'll obviously have a certain side on things, so it's you're susceptible.
Greta,
I heard about
stop
it.
the genocide.
Greta in the looks department went a different direction than I was hoping.
Lord Farquaad haircut?
Yeah, it's a crazy page, boy, and stuff like that. I'm going to be petty, but I had heard this story, so it was somewhere, but I don't know where I saw it or where I heard it, and I still couldn't figure out. Well, I don't know. Let's watch it one more time. The boat was docked near Capitol. So the boat was docked, so it wasn't.
No, this was open ocean. That something.
Oh, then I don't know. Now I'm reading the boat.
No, it's in Tunisia.
What was the story? Was the boat docked? Was it
this
out
is second
in open water?
The main deck.
What's your take on whether we should be
all right.
The main, now we're running
Mark
off the rails.
Cuban.
He just drifted back to Ukraine there momentarily.
All right, I'll ask Ben Shapiro what he thinks happened.
Ask someone else. Don't ask the Irish because we'll get pretty riled up about that one.
The story says that the boat was docked near the Tunisian capital, Tunis, and then it was droned in the middle of the night. Tunisia denies droning them.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
And there is
Israeli.
video on Twitter of them misfiring a flare gun and lighting their own boat on fire.
See, that's what I'm saying. The story is developing.
Yeah, exactly. As in, none of us actually know.
All right, I'm ready to end on a
wait,
bewildered
Coach,
note.
we got important Charlie Sheen news. You got liposuction after a
all right.
prostitute called him fat, and then Charlie Sheen reveals how partying with Nicolas Cage sent him to rehab.
Charlie Sheen, for a guy who's got a lot of money, gets really critical prostitutes who they barricade themselves in his room. They like wreck things. They call him fat, which is, again, that's not good protocol.
He's the result of that motorcycle lifestyle that you were talking about earlier when it just doesn't stop. You just keep going. You're like, I'm going to keep going. I'm a wild man.
You're not supposed... first off, if you're a prostitute, 7/8 of your clientele is overweight. Because it's just rich business guys who can't get laid.
Well, if
without
you're in America, they're all overweight.
They're all overweight.
Statistically.
Right. So I'm saying let's not critique the guy in his underpants who's paying the bills around here. Like a little decorum would be nice. Didn't you see Pretty Woman? That's what I would do. I would sit down with any woman I was about to turn out, and I would sit down and I go, we're going to take 95 minutes, and I'm going to show you what a proper prostitute, how they dress, how they
but
act.
I'm still on a clock. She.
All right, I'll pay you, but let's just notice she did not try to stab him. She did not lock herself in the suite. She did not make fun of his appearance.
That's right. My mama raised me right.
I didn't say she had to be black and Pretty Woman. She's not, but you get it. A little decorum. So the prostitute... But in a weird way, the prostitute is the mouth of babes because your publicist's not going to say anything. Your agent's not going to say anything. The wardrobe chick at 2.5 Men's not going to say anything because they're all getting paid. You know what I mean? Like the prostitute is going to tell you the truth.
True. Not going to sugarcoat it. I know so little about Charlie Sheen that I just assumed he was always doing strange prostitution things. So I was like,
it's a numbers game, Ace. You get enough prostitutes going.
Yeah.
You're
right. You'll get some compliments somewhere.
You're right.
But he is a man deep in the numbers game.
All right, let me tell everyone where everyone's going to be for everything. Bill O'Reilly, Confronting Evil, it's the name of his book. David's special, Shelf Help, as an elf on a shelf, is out September 11th. That's tomorrow as you hear this. Where do we go? Where do we find your special, by the way?
That one, I put it on YouTube.
On YouTube. Find it out on YouTube. I'll be in Albuquerque September 26th at the Chemo Theater, and then Flagstaff September 27th at the Orpheum Theater. And then I'm over at Kimmel's Club over there in Vegas, and blah. Just go to AdamCarolla.com for all the live shows. Until next time, it's Adam Carolla from Mayhem and David Nihill and Bill O'Reilly saying mahalo.